Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So we do have a quorum, and we have about 5 issues on the docket. So if there are no preliminary matters, we'll get started. Okay. As a reminder, please turn off or silence your cell phones during these proceedings. Good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for September 12th, 2022. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature, they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or their representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or their designated representative. If, as the defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, which are potentially dangerous, and vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Mr. Hall, you may please call the first case.
Thank you, sir. And it was asked of me that I just reiterate to be mindful of our time and why we're all here. If we could be sure to confine our testimony to as it relates to the facts for the incidents. But let's see, our first case, we have Animal Care and Control versus Jason and Angela Hayes. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you added in one at a time and then sworn in all together. Officer Herbert, I see you there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Officer Herbert, Animal Care and Control, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, 21108.
Thank you kindly. Hang out for just a moment. And we have Mr. Hayes here. And I see Miss Hayes.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Can you hear me all right?
Jason Hayes.
Thank you, sir. If you would, please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Jason Hayes, 508 Glad Hill Road, Odenton, Maryland, 21113.
Thank you kindly. And let me see. Ms. Hayes, if you can, start your video and audio. There we go. Can you hear me okay? Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just turned on the
there
video.
you are. Couldn't hear you at first, but now I can hear you. If you would raise your right hand, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Angela Hayes. My address is 508 Glad Hill Road, Odenton, Maryland.
Thank you kindly. Hang out for just one moment, and then I do have one caller. Let's see. Caller ending in 1400. Are you in? What case are you here in relation to? If you could unmute. Caller ending in 1400, are you able to unmute? I just want to make sure you're not here for this case, or... All right, I'm gonna take that one back down. All right, and if everyone would raise their right hand one more time. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do.
Thank you kindly. If you would, remain muted unless called upon to speak, and we are good to proceed.
Okay, I guess we will hear from Officer Herbert first.
Good morning, everyone. This is an appeal for the potentially dangerous order issued to Jason and Angela Hayes for their dog Bagheera. On Friday, July 8th, 2022, Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control's Public Safety Department received a human exposure report via email from Anne Arundel County Police Officer Seifert, badge number 1964, regarding a dog bite and animal incident that had just occurred. Both county police and an ambulance responded to the address of the victim, John Higginbotham, at 525 Maple Ridge Lane, Odenton, Maryland, 21113. After initial treatment by paramedics, the victim's wife, Gina Higginbotham, transported Mr. Higginbotham to the patient first in Odenton, Maryland. Between the dates of July 11th and July 25th, 2022, statements from the bite victim, Mr. John Higginbotham, the suspect dog owner, Angela Hayes, were submitted to Animal Care and Control, as well as medical records and photographs of the victim's injuries, a puncture to his right lower leg and a fracture to the distal phalange of the fourth digit, and the injury to the victim's dog, Max, 2 puncture wounds on the neck and chest, back, to which no veterinary treatment was provided at the owner's discretion. Mr. Higginbotham submitted a statement as follows. I was in the front yard pruning a bush with my dog on a leash. I observed 2 small women walking a large dog on the sidewalk across the street. The large dog pulled the owner across the street. I picked up my small dog and we were both knocked to the ground by the large dog. While on the ground, the dog was aggressively attacking me and my dog, and I grabbed his collar. I screamed for my wife to help. At that point, someone pulled the dog away, and I was able to pick up my dog and retreat into my house. I was bleeding from my leg, and my dog was bleeding from his back and neck. My wife called 911. Police came and an ambulance arrived. Medical treatment treated my injuries and suggested they take me to the hospital. Instead, my wife drove me to patient first, where I was diagnosed with a dog bite to the calf and a broken finger. Severe thigh, hip, and knee bruises were evident the next day. I subsequently missed work Thursday for a referral visit to a hand specialist. Police indicated the animal control would not be responding. They contacted animal control concerning rabies vaccination and public safety. Pictures did follow. The patient first Odenton location indicates that they faxed your office for the records of my visit. And if you did not receive them, they suggest your office contact them with exactly what you need. Please note that there was zero provocation from either myself or my dog. Sincerely, John Higginbotham. That was received on July 25th. We did receive a statement from Miss Angela Hayes on the 26th, which reads as follows. On Friday, July 7th, around 2022, around 10 a.m. in the morning, my daughter and I took Bagheera out for a walk as we do every morning. We were headed down Maple Ridge Lane towards Camelot Court. We were on the same side of the street as Camelot Court on the sidewalk. As we were walking down, we saw a gentleman and his dog in the front yard of 525 Maple Ridge Lane. The gentleman looked like he was pruning his bushes with both hands and his back towards the street. His dog was behind him with a leash facing the street. As we approached, Bagheera started to cross the street, and I pulled him back. The dog across the street stood up on his hind legs, and for whatever reason, that caused Bagheera to pull me all the way across the street. I tried my best not to get pulled by Bagheera, as he is much stronger and taller than me. I yelled and kept yelling for my daughter to hit the shock collar button. I ended up in the man's front yard on the ground, still pulling Bagheera away. The man scooped up his dog and Bagheera knocked him down. Both of us were on the ground on his front lawn. I was pulling Bagheera while I was down, and the man was trying to get up with his dogs in his hands. He was yelling, "Get your dog, get your dog." We were both able to get up. The man then headed to his door while his wife came to see what was happening. She was understandably upset and yelled at me to get off her property, and she was going to call the cops. I tried talking with her and apologizing, asking to help with anything I can do. This was by no means a vicious act. I know that when I get anxious and scared, the dog senses and acts protective. He is very gentle and lovable with all people. He is an alpha dog that is not always friendly with other big dogs. We have worked very hard to correct this by taking him to obedience school and wearing a shock collar. I cannot honestly say I don't remember if that morning I paired the collar to the control. I say that because my daughter said she was sure pressing the button. As soon as I came home, I called the police about the situation because I had to take my daughters to an event and I did not want it to make it seem that I had not acknowledged or taken responsibility for what happened. I told the police phone operator that I would be back at 1:30 if they needed to talk to me. As I left our neighborhood, I did see the ambulance at their home. In all the scuffle, I never saw Bagheera bite down on either the dog or the man. Respectively, Angela Hayes. On July 26, 2022, I, Officer Herbert, advised Mr. and Mrs. Hayes that under Anne Arundel County Code, Article 12.4.402, A, 2, 3, and 5, Public Safety, and Article 12.4.905, Animals Running at Large, their dog Bagheera must complete a 10-day quarantine period at their residence due to the human exposure, and that they would be issued a potentially dangerous order as a result of the public safety violation incident. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes immediately purchased and sent photographs of Bagheera wearing the muzzle, harness, and coupler on July 26th, for which Bagheera is required to wear anytime he leaves the owner's residence. The order was issued via email on the same day. An appointment for inspection at the Hayes residence of 508 Glad Hill Road in Odenton was made for July 29th. Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control found the owners of Bagheera to be in full compliance with a potentially dangerous order issued, and photographs were taken. All the above incidents described occurred in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Thank you.
Okay, is that all, Officer Herbert,
Yes, sir.
at this time? Okay, then I would imagine we would move to Miss Angela Hayes for a response. And
Before Miss Hayes begins, Philip, is the alleged victim not here?
Mr. Higginbotham is not in the call. I did double check his call against the call-in number that we weren't able to get a response off of, and that did not match. He did confirm receipt of the notice hearing with the connection information and had said that he would be here. I can attempt to reach him by phone.
May I interject? I spoke with Mr. Higginbotham yesterday, and he advised he would be here today.
So let me try to reach
Okay,
out to him while we're hearing.
Okay, and there's been no request for a postponement, correct?
No.
Good enough.
Did I need to respond?
Okay, should we continue, Philip? Are you attempting to reach him, or?
I can give him a call, but to save time, we can continue at this
Exactly.
stage and try and get in touch with him.
Good enough. Yes, Miss Hayes, go ahead.
Okay. First, I would like to acknowledge that the incident did occur, and by no means are we trying to contest what occurred. What I would like to contest is the order of forever. He is alpha dog. We have been trying very hard. We have a letter from the premier dog that he finished the boot camp. He is a work in progress. This incident is very isolated. It has not happened before. It's not something that occurs on a regular basis. We walk the dog in our neighborhood all the time. This doesn't happen. In the incident, I can't honestly remember seeing my dog bite down on either the gentleman or the dog. Not to say that it didn't happen, because it was a lot going on. My only focus was trying to pull the dog off. So that is what I recall from the incident. And I guess we are contesting this, that this is just not a forever, and to lift the potentially dangerous dog thing.
Okay, so as I understand it, you have, in the testimony from Officer Herbert, you're in compliance with all of the potentially dangerous order items. Mr. Hayes, do you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you. You know, the only thing we haven't done for compliance is the licensing, which we're unsure about, on additional licenses for the potentially dangerous. You know, we never saw anything as far as registering the dog in a special manner. Like Angela mentioned, Bagheera did a 3-week on-premise off-leash boot camp, you know, where he stayed on premise for 3 weeks for a full immersion for behavioral. You know, the dog has had no previous bite incidents. I know the dog was technically at large as far as not being in control of the owner, but he was never off leash. He never has escaped from our property. Our yard is secure where he spends time in the backyard. He's never snuck out the front door, back door, side door. You know, he is microchipped, you know, and he is, you know, he was just generally curious about a dog he's never seen in our neighborhood before. You know, and we are asking that, you know, it's a burden for us to, you know, our house isn't that large. Trying to install the secondary barriers is very cumbersome, you know, and we are asking that, you know, we appeal the potentially dangerous order.
Okay, and as I understand it, the main thing is that you don't want the potentially dangerous order to be held over your animal's head forever.
Correct.
Like it lifted, and that other than that, everything else seems to be complied with. Phil, do we have?
I have Miss Higginbotham on the phone here. She is saying that Mr. Higginbotham is the 1400 caller. And he's just disconnected. Right, but this isn't connected to the hearing. Let me see if I can send a call request out.
While we're waiting for that, Ms. Hayes, I have a question. You said you didn't recall seeing, you weren't denying that your dog bit Mr. Higginbotham, but you didn't recall seeing it because everything happened so fast. Do you recall where Mr. Higginbotham's dog was?
So he was trimming his bushes. So he was facing his bushes. I did see a leash on the dog. Where the leash was connected to him, I wasn't sure. But the little dog was behind him, facing the road. So he was facing, the gentleman was facing the bushes with his back against the road, and the dog was behind him, facing the road. Does that make any sense?
Yes. And when your dog came over to them, and everybody got tangled up together, where was his dog?
His dog remained where he was, and my dog's, I guess, like I said, he wanted the dog. He went up on his hind legs, and for whatever reason, that gave Bagheera, I don't know if he thought he was being threatened, or I don't know, because like he doesn't do this. If he does, it's to be protective of me and my daughter. And he just went after the dog, and and I don't know if the gentleman was wearing headphones or something, but it took him a little bit to actually turn around and see what was going on.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a quick question. So your pet went to a behavioral boot camp. When was that? And who was that with?
That was with Premier Dog Training. And it was, sorry, let me see if I have the date. May 26, 2021 to June 16th, 2021. So he stayed there for 3 weeks in the facility working with members of the staff. We also completed follow-up lessons after graduating boot camp with him to reinforce. And then anytime we do board the dog, he gets follow-up training, you know, at the facility.
Okay, so other than the training the dog has received at the facility, you've done nothing to manage the dog going forward or the dog's behavior going forward since May or June of 21, correct?
When you say going forward, I'm sorry.
From May or June 21, when you finish the boot camp, and then when the dog boards, where he seems to get, I guess he boards at Premier Dog Training.
Correct.
And I guess you're implying that when he's there, he gets subsequent training or additional reinforcement of the behavior modification. Outside of that, what have you guys done individually to help maintain the dog's behavior modification going forward?
We're working with him. We're working with him constantly when we go out. He wears a choke collar, as well as a shock collar. Like I said in my statement, I can't honestly remember if I paired it that morning. I usually do, but sometimes if we're out the door, we got to get the dog for a walk and I got to get my girls somewhere. It could be that I forgot that morning, but we are constantly working him, both me and my husband, correcting his behavior. If we weren't correcting his behavior, this would be more than one incident, but this was the only isolated incident, and we are always working with him. He wears everything apart from a muzzle, but because of the compliance, he does now wear a muzzle.
Thank you.
Any luck, Mr. Hall?
Yes, I'm going to try to promote them up to allow them to talk now.
Okay.
We have the 8889 number. If you would please unmute. Here we go. And can you hear me? Oh, I heard something, but then it muted again.
Can you hear
Hey,
me?
I can hear you.
Hi. Okay,
Excellent.
great.
So do we have Mr. Higginbotham there?
I'm going to get him. He left, I think, get on the computer instead, but I'll let him know we are unmuted now.
Excellent. And I'll go ahead and swear him in when he's ready.
Okay. Do you want to swear me in because some
Oh,
inaccurate
absolutely.
statements were made about me?
Absolutely. If you would please state your
Fine,
name and
go
address
on.
for the record.
My name is Regina Higginbotham, 525 Maple Ridge Lane, Odenton, Maryland 21113.
Thank you kindly.
You
And
want
if
to swear John? You want to swear John back in?
we will get him in
Here's
just a
John.
moment. We-
Okay.
If you would please raise your right hand on your end. And do you declare and affirm the penalties of perjury, the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you kindly. And Mr. Higginbotham, are you there?
Yes, he's here.
All right. Sir, if you would please state your name and address for the record.
John Higginbotham, 525 Maple Ridge Lane, Odenton, Maryland.
Thank you kindly. And please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you kindly.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Higginbottom, we have heard testimony from Officer Herbert. She basically reread your statement that was provided for the record. And this is your opportunity to add anything else that you may want to add. to the statement. So I guess, Mr. Higginbottom, you are the individual that was injured. I guess we can start with you.
I don't know that I have anything to add. I'm just wondering, are you guys see the pictures?
Yes, they're in the case file.
Okay, I'm having a
So,
really hard
there's-
time hearing him. Is there more than one is this a speakerphone call?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to put the phone up to their face to talk because I can't hear. I'm having a lot of difficulty hearing him.
Okay. Did you get that, Mr. Higginbottom? We can,
Yes. Can you hear me now?
is that better,
Is this
Jennifer?
better?
Okay, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Higginbottom. I think we can all hear you now.
So if I was looking at the Zoom screen, would I see a presentation of the pictures?
I imagine Mr. Hall might be able to put them up if it's necessary.
They are.
No,
They're in
I'm
our
just
file.
wondering.
We've
I just
seen
want.
them.
Okay, so all the members of the commission have seen them.
Well, we have
not.
access to them. I
Correct.
can't tell you if they've all seen them.
Yes, we
I have
have.
not, and I don't have access. I'm waiting to get access from Phil when he has an opportunity.
Okay. I have.
Hold on just
I
a
don't have
second.
anything else to say.
Philip, can we put them up for the record?
Absolutely. Dr. Hammer, the Verizon or the Gmail account would be better for you.
The Verizon account, please. Thank you, Philip.
Absolutely. It should come through right now. It was already on the list. That's strange. I feel like we have this every month.
Yeah, we do for some reason. I can't explain it either. But yeah, when I get it, I'll open it. Thank you very much, Philip. I appreciate your time.
I didn't know if we were allowed to have the pictures, but we never got pictures either.
Okay, I think for the record, it would be a good idea. Mr. Hall will momentarily put them up on screen for us here.
Yep, it's somewhat of a large file. I have to download it onto my PC. 3, 2, 1 there.
Am I correct that there was an information request filed by one of the parties online? I thought these would have been shared already. I thought I saw in the file that an information request was filed online.
We requested information, and we just got copies of all the letters that were sent out. We did get a very brief, explanation of the injuries, but it didn't explain. When you read it, I learned more about the injuries of the other party because when we asked Officer Hubert, she said that she was not allowed to tell us until we requested the information, and we never got the pictures. We just, like I said, just got a brief description, but not that much information about the injuries.
We're going to have full disclosure here in a second.
I am being advised that it may have been taking some time due to the HIPAA laws, and Central Records need to redact the information. It can take some time, but I can get the information up on the screen here as it's being requested by both parties. Photos should be popping up momentarily. Can everybody see that?
Okay, Philip, I just for reference, that online that request that's in the file is dated July 26th.
Oh.
So I'm just floored
That would
that
be
here we are,
mine.
September. Oh, that was your request.
That was my request, and that was for everything that happened up to that, the incident, the day of the incident, the police reports and verification of the rabies and all that. What I'm referring to are the pictures of my bruises that I sent in.
Yes, we have those. We have all that. I just want to make sure everybody has the material, include both sides.
Yeah, I have all the material.
We never got
And all
any
my
pictures of anything, FYI. And we did request full information as well.
Okay, as Mr. Hall said, it's going to take some time to download all of the information, but it will be forthcoming. If the Higginbottoms have any testimony that they would like to state in the meantime, while we're waiting for the rest of the photos and information to be downloaded.
The photos should be up now. Can everyone see them? The
Okay.
dog on the screen?
Yes.
We got picture of the dog. Yes. Okay.
A picture of what looks like the left leg.
I believe that's it for the photos.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hall.
And some of these are lingering issues. His finger is still not right, and his hip, he has a kind of a hip issue. I guess been knocked around on the ground. But the hand specialist did say it would take some time for the finger.
Okay. Is there any more testimony from the Higginbottoms?
Yes. This wasn't the first time her dog had kind of lunged after us down and dragged across the street down the street. It was actually maybe a couple years ago, and I hadn't really seen her since that incident walking the dog. It was always Mr. Hayes, but it was just a few houses down, and again, I could see that the dog was dragging her, so I went actually up to the neighbor's fence, ready to go into his backyard. And then she finally got control of the dog, and that neighbor did indicate that dog walks her. She doesn't walk the dog. I also wanted to add that when I did come outside, my husband was screaming help, which I've never heard, him scream for help like that before. And I went outside, and of course, we were both kind of like in shock a little bit. And I just reliving it now, it's hard. But I went outside, and they were already at the edge of our property line. So I'm not sure where Ms. Hayes is saying that I said, get off my yard. I don't believe they were in my yard at the time. And I never heard her say anything. What I saw was her looking down as if, don't recognize me. And her daughter was the only person I heard speak. And she said, let me know if he's okay. So I was not happy. And I said, I'm calling the police. And she kind of made a mad face at me, and they were gone. There was never an apology. There was never an offer to make any kind of financial reparation for the injury, for the doctor, for lost wages from work. We haven't heard from them at all. And it has been terrifying. I had to purchase mace. I have to walk because they are still walking the dog. And I had to purchase mace around the neighborhood because it's frightening. I mean, this was a very large dog that put my husband to the ground with his dog. They came in bleeding unbelievably in the kitchen floor. I didn't know how serious it was until the ambulance took care of it, which they did. But until then, there was so much blood, I didn't know what was going on. That's why I had to call 911, which is probably a good thing that I did. Anything for you, John?
Well, it was very traumatic, and I can't believe that this dog only weighs 109 pounds. And when he was being, I didn't reach for my dog till her dog was no longer on that side of the street. When that dog stepped into the road, I panicked. And before I could stand up completely with my dog, I was on the ground. So either she let go of the leash or she ran across the street, because it was in a blink of an eye and I was on the ground. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Well, it just one more thing. It's still scary when the two of them can't control the dog, and I now see just one of them walking the dog. It's beyond me. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, we do have your statement on record, and it was read into the record by Officer Herbert. Gives a pretty clear picture of the incident. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, do you have anything else to add before we close for full discussion?
I do refute the fact that I did ask if I could help or I could do anything. After the incident happened and the cops were involved, I thought, do it by the law and don't contact her. But the day that it happened, I did yell at her if there's anything that I could do, anything that I could help. And I understand it was a very heated situation. And she did tell me to get off her property and that no big dogs should be allowed in that neighborhood. I don't know about the other incident that she talked about. Yes, my dog has lunged at other dogs, but we've always controlled him. He is not very friendly with other dogs, but we've always controlled him. I cannot say anything about what she's talking about in terms of the other incident. And no, I've never seen her or met her.
Okay. We understand that, and the commission fully understands that it was a traumatic occurrence for the little dog and Mr. Higginbottom and Mrs. Higginbottom. We hope that the neighbors can mend fences, as it were. However, we are here to deliberate on the potentially dangerous order which has been appealed. And that is the issue before the commission. And like I say, I will say on behalf of the commission that we do hope that neighbors can be neighborly and, don't continuously hold this against one another. Let's mend some fences. But unfortunately, our jurisdiction goes to the potentially dangerous order which has been appealed. So if there is no further testimony for or against the potentially dangerous order being upheld or being lifted by the Hayeses or the Higginbottoms, we will close for deliberation. So
I would just like to say that I definitely want to be neighborly, and honestly, they're in my prayers every day. I understand that this was just an unfortunate incident that honestly, we just don't want it to happen again. That's our only interest in this. I think that family's probably very nice. We haven't met, but I've seen them walk around and the kids go out to school, and they do seem like a really great family.
yes, ma'am. And that's good. There is enough division in the world. So
I agree.
hearing nothing further.
Hey, I have a question for the Hayes. As far as the potentially dangerous order, is there a particular part of it that you would like to dispute? Like looking at the whole list of things, is there a particular point that is more egregious than the others?
With the whole list, there are some discrepancies as far as the fencing in the backyard. Our forward-facing fence is a solid fence, but the fence that abuts our neighbors is like a chain link fence. and I know that in the stipulation, it does account for, you know, a solid fence, but our forward facing street side fences are solid. We don't have auto closing on our gates to the backyard. They're pretty solidly kind of locked into the ground. You know, so they really don't swing freely. And again, the issue is that our dog has never been at large or escaped our house or property per se. You know, it's more of a, you know, it was a control issue. You know, as well as the secondary barriers inside our house. You know, that's it's quite cumbersome to have the little gates, you know, around the, you know, our kids just turned 13, and you know, we thought we were done with baby gates a long time ago. But you know, the dogs never got off our property. That was not the issue per se. You know, the muzzle, we understand that, you know, it's a peace of mind thing for everyone at this point. You know, and like I said, it's the first time we've had this issue.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Officer Herbert. I believe you indicated before, officer, that they were in compliance because the dog was returned to them, correct? I mean, someone went out and inspected what they had going on at their house?
Correct. The dog was never impounded. The dog remained
okay.
home for the 10-day quarantine, and I went out to the property and inspected.
Okay, and were you satisfied with the provisions you saw there?
I was. The age of the animal, there are some hip issues. He did not jump the fence or get out of the yard. Nothing has ever been reported to Animal Care and Control that was the issue. It was outside the home. And I felt that they managed the dog on the property just fine.
Okay, and so you're happy with everything the way it exists now?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me again, how old is this dog again?
Jason?
He's 4.
He's 4. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe we can wrap up and deliberate at this time. If we have any further questions, please make yourselves available. Okay, let's start with Corporal Scally.
Sir, I don't have any questions at this time.
Oh, we're deliberating. Your thoughts?
At this time, I believe that both parties are trying to do what's in the best interest of one another. It seems like there's always a communication breakdown when persons don't meet face to face. This is unfortunate. Had they had more time to do those things, we may not have gone to this length to do this Zoom call or meeting. But I think in terms of potentially dangerous odor, I would say we keep it in effect.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Hammer?
I agree with Officer Scally. I think what happened, my impression is what happened here was just a perfect storm of bad events that led us to where we are today. You know, to me, it sounds like the Hayes are actually, you know, understand that there's some behavioral issues here. They're being proactive to try and get it under control. These presses can be challenges. I certainly understand that. If I'm understanding Mr. Hayes correctly, the interior secondary barriers are what really seems to be the bugaboo with the order. And if I'm looking at this, really the only thing that I want to keep in place is everything that Officer Herbert has already put in place. I'm okay lifting the secondary barriers, but the one thing that I'm not comfortable lifting is the muzzle requirement. If this dog was wearing a muzzle and nothing else, if this dog had a muzzle on, we wouldn't be here today. And so I think maintaining at least that is probably appropriate here, because you know, if this was a smaller human being, I think the trauma here would have been much more significant. And then those are kind of my thoughts. I'm inclined to uphold the order as it stands right now, omitting secondary barriers, but definitely maintaining the muzzle requirement. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Fuentes?
Mr. Williams said exactly what I was going to say. I'm willing to uphold everything. I mean, to modify the order, but keep the potential upheld. It sounded like, you know, they had an issue with the fence, and so I'm willing to let that part go. But definitely the muzzle, it seems like, just, even though it just happened one time, if it were to happen a second time, like Mr. Williams said, if it was a child or something else, it could have been worse. So definitely want to keep the part of the muzzle in. Just for my reference, I know I just covered for Tom, but it's potentially dangerous order, and vicious order, right? There's nothing below potentially dangerous. Just, that's a question I have for the commission, just so
Warning. A
I
warning.
believe that's the case. Yeah.
A warning will be lower.
A warrant?
A warning letter.
Oh, okay. No, then I wouldn't be, I don't feel comfortable going down to a warning. I think this is something that should remain and just be modified. And those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I'm not sure that I have much to add. I think it's perfectly reasonable to defer to Officer Herbert's expertise in this, and she's already viewed the house and the conditions and says everything is satisfactory as it is. And since there is not a, you know, the secondary barrier piece is the has not been officially constructed. I think there was a mention of a baby gate or whatever. I'm fine with removing that. I do have a question though, and this may be a question more for Curran, just because the Hayeses mentioned it in the beginning about this order following the pet for the pet's entire life. And I have been going back looking at 12-4402 and the orders, and I don't see a time frame in there. So I was curious, and not that I would necessarily suggest, because I think this dog does need a muzzle in public as long as he's out in public. But are we able to set a time frame on these orders? I don't see anything in the code that would say we can't.
As far as I know, the code doesn't specify a length of time that the orders have to be. So I don't know that it's mandated in the code that they are permanent. I don't, that'd be a question for Robin. I don't know that there have been any that have been kind of time limited or only for a number of years, but that would be a recommendation that the commission could make. It'd be up to the chief what to do with that at that point.
Okay, that was, I mean, thank you. That was more for just for my information. I don't know that I understand not wanting it to follow the dog forever, but I don't know any other way to enforce at the very least the muzzle requirement. So I think I would just leave it as it is for now with the modifications that Dr. Hemmer suggested.
Thank you, Jennifer. Matthew?
Yeah, I'm going to echo Jennifer. I don't have a lot to add. Dr. Hemmer kind of hit all the points I wanted to hit. I think we should definitely uphold the order just as a record that something happened, but I'm comfortable with just keeping the muzzle in effect and removing the secondary order. New secondary barrier order.
Okay. I agree with just about everybody here. And I know I'm probably gonna throw a little monkey wrench in it, but I was thinking along the lines, it sounded like, of Jennifer. And I don't know, it'd be up to the rest of the commission. I was kind of thinking along the lines of leaving the potentially dangerous order in place with some of the restrictions lifted, such as this, that secondary barrier that Mr. Hayes said was a little cumbersome, and other things that really didn't matter. But I was wondering if the potentially dangerous order could be lifted, reduced to a letter, reduced to a warning 2 years from the date of incident. I believe it was July 8th. That would make it July 8th of 24, but leaving the muzzle and leash requirements in place in the warning letter. Would anybody be receptive to that if it can be done? The dog would be 6 years old by then.
I think it can be done, but my question is, can it be enforced? Once it's reduced to a warning letter, can we enforce the muzzle requirement? I don't think there's any teeth behind it once it's a warning. Is there, Curry?
If it is what I'm saying is it would be a requirement to reduce it to a warning. In other words, have it, worded, recommended to the chief that we lift the moniker of potentially dangerous. I believe that's what they don't want their dog, and I understand that they don't want their dog forever to have this potentially dangerous name over its head. And I can understand that. And I'm not trying to kowtow to the either party. I just understand that having that name held over the animal for the rest of its life is, is it fair in this particular incident? I don't know. It's a single incident where it did get away. I understand the traumatic nature of it. You got a man who was just trimming his hedges with earphones in, and the next thing you know, he's attacked. That shouldn't happen. And I understand that. But I also understand the issue of having that on for the rest of the dog's life over one incident. And I was just throwing it out there. What's your all's thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are a couple of different things. We've got the practical matter that I think everybody's in agreement. If we could find some way to have this dog be muzzled when it's in public for the rest of its life and nothing else, I think everybody would find that palatable. All parties involved, the commission, the plaintiff, and the defendant. Unfortunately, we don't have that flexibility, is my understanding, number one. Number two, Jennifer and Matthew bring up a good point that, I think you've got a great idea, Ed, but we're back to enforceability and accountability going forward. That's the biggest headache. My professional experience with these guys, and I deal with a number of aggressive animals every day, and I appreciate where the owner's concerns are coming from. But these behavioral dogs, particularly with aggression, are always going to be a problem, and there's always going to be some liability. You're never going to have an aggressive dog ever become a cuddly, sweet, happy dog. It's just not going to happen. The example I pose are police dogs that we use, and quite frankly, the military dogs. Those dogs are wonderful dogs if the trainer is in the room, and even with the trainer in the room, I wouldn't touch the dog without a muzzle on. the dogs can be unpredictable and the dogs can be defensive to everybody except the trainer. And I deal with a lot of police dogs, and I've dealt with a lot of military dogs over the years. And it's just standard practice, no matter how nice the dog is, even the ones they're doing now with the new training methodology, that they're more social than the old school guys. They're dying out, but we've seen some of those guys. The protocol is they always have a muzzle on when you're doing anything to manipulate them, even giving a simple vaccine. And, I think that just is inherent in some of these breeds of dog. And I think that that's something we need to be mindful of. Let's not lose sight of our job as a commission. Our role as a commission is to protect public safety.
Right.
And unfortunately, with this bite that occurred, the minimum we need to do is to make sure this dog has a muzzle for the rest of its life when it's out in public. The problem is, and I don't know how to get around it, is having this dog marked as a dangerous dog for the rest of its life, which I suspect it probably isn't, but it's got those tendencies we need to be mindful of. And that's the dilemma that I have. I think it's a great idea, and I wish we could do something. I don't know that the law, the way it's written today, gives us any kind of flexibility in that manner. And that's why I'm fine keeping everything the way it is, that Officer Herbert's happy with, making sure the dog has a muzzle in, omitting the interior barriers. And as far as the potentially dangerous order for the dog for the rest of its life, I don't know that there's anything we can do. And I'd expect Robin to have to comment on if there's ever been an opportunity where a citizen has come in with a potentially dangerous dog and has petitioned the commission and or the police chief to go ahead and rescind that at some point at a future date. I'm not aware of it, and I just don't know how we would do that. So sorry to be so long.
No, thank you. I needed to hear that. It makes better sense. I mean, you are absolutely correct. Our main function is to protect the public and keep this from happening again. And unfortunately, we are restrained by the language of the bylaws, rules, whatever you want to call them. And the only way that can be enforced, unfortunately, is to leave the potentially dangerous order is the lowest one that is out there, other than a warning letter, and a warning letter can't be enforced per se. So I guess it's time to get a
Can I ask
a motion.
if I just want to clarify, we all agree, I think everybody's in agreement that the secondary barrier can be removed. But since Officer Herbert is the only one that's actually seen their house, Officer Herbert, is there anything else in the dangerous order that is not currently in place at the Hayes's home and you don't think needs to be? I just want to make sure we remove everything that can be removed from this order while we're doing it.
Yes, I agree. Just keep the muzzle.
Muzzle.
Just the muzzle requirement? What about the fencing requirements?
No, I think the fencing and requirements are adequate for the size of the dog and his inability to jump that fence.
Okay,
So
I have one question as well. The muzzle's fine. How about the order that I saw where it has, when the dog is being walked, it has to be walked by a person or persons that can control the dog, keep it from running away?
Yes, that is in loot. That works with the harness, the coupler, and the collar.
Okay.
Everything's connected.
So,
however, a gentle leader could be in place as well.
Okay.
And the shock collar.
Okay. So those are the issues that need to remain. Hearing that, does anyone have a motion? I believe we're all in agreement that the potentially dangerous order has to remain by law.
Can I interject? Because I'm looking at this from the perspective of making a motion and just dropping sections of the order that's out there. I think it would go a long way if we could drop 10, the posting of potentially dangerous, if the commission's in agreement with that.
Yeah, that
I would
would,
agree. Yeah.
that
I mean,
would,
I think that's, and then I don't know what we can do about the, I remember previously when I was on the commission, we could never change the licensing fee. Can we do that, Corinne or Robin? Eliminate, just have the regular licensing fee and not a potentially dangerous licensing fee?
That's a recommendation that you can make, but the
Okay.
code defines the specific fee, so I don't know that the chief would be able to go along with that because I don't think there's anything in the code that allows the chief to amend the fees.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Corinne.
but yes, thank you, Dr. Hemmer, for the removal of number 10 would kind of go where I was going.
Yeah. Well, then I think I'd like to make a motion to uphold the order as it is written, with the exception of deleting section 8, which comments on the secondary barrier, and section 10, which is the posting requirement. Everything else to be left intact.
I must have an old copy of the potentially dangerous order because my numbers are all off. And is there one I have one that's from 2019. Was there a more recent copy of a PDO?
The specific animals order is included in the scanned case file.
Yeah, it's like the first 2 or 3 pages of the case file.
Yeah, pages 1, 2, and 3.
Starts at page 9
Gotcha.
on the case file, Jennifer.
Okay, all right. So I was just looking at a generic one. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. That's very helpful.
It is also on page 9. Yeah.
Yep, got it.
That's my motion.
And did I hear a second from Matthew?
I seconded.
Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay, that concludes the first case. Does anybody need a break before we go to the second case? Okay. Mr. Hall?
All right. Our next case, we have the first appeal of a mandatory spay-neuter that we've ever dealt with. This will be handled a little differently because I'm being tasked with representing the agency in reference to these. So someone else will be swearing me in. But first, let me get everybody into the call here. We have Animal Care and Control versus Tyrell Taylor for the appeal of the mandatory spay-neuter of Nala the dog. All parties who have an interest in this case may now come forward to testify and take the oath. I do not see Mr. Taylor in the attendees list. I would be the complainant in this case. Give me one moment. Let me see if I can reach him by phone, and I'll be right back.
I'm going to step away for just a moment. I'll be right back.
Gotcha.
Okay, so while we're waiting for all this to get forward, Karen, I think I need a quick
Excuse me.
just a little education here because I'm looking at 12-4504 and the case is and then the case is still ACC as the complainant. So I'm kind of confused as to why Philip is now representing the agency.
If I may, I believe that he is the one that issues the citations. He's the citation guy, and the orders on.
Yeah, guys, excuse me. Can you open that? And if that's a bill, give that to.
Somebody's not on mute.
Dr. Hemmer, your microphone is still on.
I apologize.
Okay, this is based on 2 impoundments in a 12-month period. the law was changed, or it came on board with the what was the other one? The
Bill 8920 was passed January 2021, amending 124504 in reference to this.
So
Philip, am I understanding it? It's not that you are representing the agency, it's you are the agency's fact witness in this, correct?
Yes, I'm just here to present the case file, essentially.
Okay, all right, that makes, all right, I get it.
Mr. Taylor has not answered at the phone number provided and was issued summons within the allotted time frame. He has failed to appear.
okay, with that, then unfortunately, we know what happens. How is that enforced, Phil?
I think we still have to make a record. I think Phil
Yes.
still has to give his testimony. We still have to make a record.
Yeah, I will still speak the case file into record, and we'll move forward from there. But failing to appear, the animal will need to be spayed at the owner's expense. I believe within 30 days, but I might be wrong on the time frame. Yeah,
Okay.
within 30 days of the final decision being issued per I of that section. All right,
Okay.
so Officer Herbert, if you would, I would ask you to swear me in so I can read the record in. And if you can't hear me, I will pop into your office and find you. Okay, I don't see her. Give me just one. Oh, no, there she is. And if you would unmute.
Sorry, a little slow on the return.
That's all right.
If you can please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury, the testimony you are about to give us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your name and address.
Officer Hall, Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So in this case, the animal in question to begin was impounded on 5/17/2022 by Officer Fromer. The dog was picked up along Route 50 and 97 when the owner, one Tyrell Taylor, was taken into custody by county police. He then later redeemed his animal from Animal Care and Control later that day, paying the requisite impound fees and signing his copy of the owner form along with the section educating the public as to Bill 8920, which does dictate that should the animal be picked up again within a 12-month period, he is aware that the animal will need to be spayed. The animal Nala was then impounded again 8/19/2022. It was found loose on Roscoe Row Boulevard, allegedly trying to bite a security officer. It was picked up by Officer Bowen at that time and redeemed later that day by Mr. Taylor, who once again signed the owner forms along with the Bill 8920 information sheet and submitted his request in writing, stating, I, Tyrell Taylor, request a hearing for my dog Nala. I don't want her spayed. Signed, print, and dated. Summons was issued to him August 26th, 2022, and he has failed to appear.
So my understanding is that the dog is still in the custody of animal control?
No, ma'am. So the section of the law for 124504F does state that the animal will be spayed or neutered prior to the redemption unless the owner appeals commission within 5 days, in which case the G covers that they may appeal, and let's see, there is I, redemption pending appeal. If the owner files a timely appeal to the commission, the chief may allow the redemption of the animal by the owner while the appeal is pending without the owners complying with the appealed condition. If a redemption condition is upheld by the chief after the hearing, the owner shall present satisfactory proof of compliance with all redemption conditions to the agency within 30 days of the final decision being issued. And this allows owners to not have to have their dogs sitting here in purgatory, essentially.
Right. I guess my question is, question, after I read this, my thought was, okay, so Mr. Taylor didn't show. I think everybody here is going to be inclined to obviously uphold your recommendation that this dog be spayed, but the dog is not in animal control custody. So how do we enforce compliance? If he does not do this or provide proof that it's been done, do we go pick up, or does animal control go pick up the dog?
I know that he's required to submit proof to the agency within 30 days of the chief's decision. I'm not sure as to the enforcement that would follow. He may be able to be cited under this section of the code. As to if we would send an officer out to impound the animal, I wouldn't be able to say.
There would be
Just
an
looking for-
option to impound under 124501. Let's see, I believe it's 9, an animal whose owner violates any condition of administrative order pertaining to the animal. There also would be the authority to issue citations or to pursue other relief, such as injunctive relief through the courts, if that were deemed to be necessary by the chief.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. That's what I was looking for. I was looking, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but I was looking for the teeth behind it because it seemed kind of silly to do this if we couldn't make him do it, but perfect. Thanks. I make a motion that, well, unless anybody else wants any more discussion, I'm just trying to move this along quickly. I make a motion that we uphold the order to spay and neuter order, the mandatory spay and neuter order.
A second.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you. I have that recorded.
You good to go, Phil? On the next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have Animal Care and Control versus Jacqueline Ramirez for the appeal of the mandatory spay and neuter for Belly the dog. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. I do not see Ms. Ramirez in the attendee list. I will attempt to reach out to her at the phone number provided. And sadly, Ms. Ramirez has not answered at the phone number provided. Officer Herbert, if you would swear me in.
Please raise your right hand. You declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury, the testimony you're about to give us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
Officer Hall, Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Milledgeville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you, sir.
All right. The animal in reference to this case, Belly the dog, was impounded on April 1st, 2022 by Officer Roan. The dog was found running at large by a citizen in the county and impounded that date. It was redeemed the next day, 4/2/2022, by Miss Jacqueline Ramirez, who signed the owner forms along with the bill advising her of $89.20, and The dog was then secondarily impounded again August 13th, 2022. That was picked up, looks like, directly from my apologies, just looking at the record here. I don't have the intake staff. It was dropped off at our facility. It was confined by a citizen in the county who was unable to bring it back to the owner as no one was home, and we posted the property. She then came, Miss Ramirez sent an agent to redeem the dog on 8/15/2022, 2 days later. That was Mr. Benjamin Ramirez. We had a statement from Miss Jacqueline giving him permission along with a copy of her identification. Mr. Ramirez signed the owner forms on her behalf along with another form advising of Bill 8920, and then Miss Ramirez submitted her request to appeal the mandatory spay and neuter digitally directly from her email August 15th, 2022, and summons was issued back to that email specifically, and Ms. Ramirez has now failed to appear.
All right, I make a motion that the mandatory spay and neuter be upheld.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, then, moving on to the next case, Mr. Hall,
Thank you, sir.
or Officer Herbert, rather.
Let's see. We do have Animal Care and Control versus Xavier Spence for the mandatory spay or neuter of Ice the dog. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. I don't see Mr. Spence present either. Let me reach out to him by phone at the number he provided. Mr. Spence was not able to be reached at the phone number he has provided. Officer Herbert, if you'd please swear me in.
Please raise your right hand. You declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury testimony you're about to give us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
Officer Hall, Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So in this case, we have Ice the dog, who was initially impounded July 14th, 2022 by Officer Fromer, who picked up the dog when it was confined in a citizen's yard in the county. The dog was then redeemed from our shelter by Xavier Spence on 7/20/2022, roughly 6 days later. My apologies, it was impounded on July 19th and redeemed 1 day later at 7/20, just a handwriting issue there. Mr. Spence at the time signed the owner redemption form along with the paperwork informing him as to Bill 8920, and that if the dog was impounded again within a 12-month period, it would need to be spayed or neutered. The dog was then impounded again on August 13th, 2022 by Officer Adams, who picked it up once again confined in a citizen's yard in the county. It was then redeemed from our facility 3 days later on 8/16 by Mr. Xavier Spence, who once again signed the owner redemption information along with the bill for 8920 and submitted his appeal in writing at that time. I, Xavier Spence, would like to get a hearing to stop my dog Ice from being neutered. He was found on my street. I wasn't home. I had to work. Just paid $115 for something I had no idea my roommate was letting my dog out. It's not her job to let him out. Xavier Spence, signed, printed, and dated. Summons was issued to the address he provided at the time of the redemption as of August 26th, 2022, and Mr. Spence has failed to appear.
All right, so I make a motion that the mandatory
Hold just
spay
a
and neuter
second.
be.
Hold on, just Jennifer, just a matter of interest to me, Phil. I take it that Adonis and Ice are the same dog?
Yes, sir. So in this
Okay.
case, if you look at actually, honestly, all of these, when the animal first comes to our facility, if they don't have any kind of identification or microchipping, we don't know their names because they are unwilling to tell us. So we just make them up. So Leah was the dog at first. Then we found out the dog's name was Nala. So then the second time they come in, we know who they are because the last time they were redeemed, we found out their real names. So Adonis was his our made-up name, and then Ice was his real name from his father.
Okay, got it. Proceed, Jennifer. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I make a motion that the mandatory spay and neuter be upheld.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Thank you. And thank you, Officer Herbert, for acting as my swearing-in officer. I can take over for this last case. This last case, we have Kimyetta Meekins versus Anton Marks for 2 citations, 1 animal disturbance prohibited, 1 animal public nuisance, in reference to, my apologies, I don't actually have Mr. Marks's dog's name right in front of me. It's right on my part. In reference to Ivy, the dog, my apologies. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you added in one at a time and then sworn in all together at the end. And we do have everyone here for this one, thankfully. Let's see, I see Mr. Marks here, promoting him up. And Ms. Meekins, promoting her. Mr. Marks, I see you connected. Your video's coming up, and I see your audio's coming up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Anton Marks, 8315 Jacobs Road, West, Severn, Maryland, 21144.
Thank you kindly. Hang on for a second. I'll get you all sworn in at the end here. Ms. Meekins, I see you popping up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Thank you kindly. Get you labeled here. There we go. There's your name. And if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Oh, my name is Kimyetta Meekins, and I live at 8314 Black Harrier Lane.
Thank you kindly. If you would both please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you kindly. We should be good to proceed. If you would please remain muted unless called upon to speak.
Okay, Ms. Meekins, you are the complainant in this case. You will state your case first.
Sure. First of all, good morning, everyone. I am here today, and I actually have a witness that's on the line as well. I don't know if he's on here yet, but his name is Robert. So he should be in the queue waiting. But in any case, so my case is that there are 2 animal disturbance prohibited It's Article 12-4904 that's being violated, and Article 12-4101. I'm sorry, Article 12-4903, public nuisance. Both of those laws are being violated. And let me take a step back. I actually moved here in December of last year. I live in the Jacobs Forest community, which is a newer subdivision. It's been here for about maybe 6 years, but I literally just moved here about 6 months ago. A beautiful community, quiet, very kid-friendly. We have a lot of families that's in this neighborhood. I live the closest to the property, to Mr. Anton's property. And so we have been, since the time that we got here, we've enjoyed, when we first moved in, everything was well. And then we started hearing and were concerned gravely about the disturbances that started up, I would say back in January is when all of this, when we started really getting in tune to the barking, the noises, the disturbances. And so we were concerned first. Our first thing was, we were concerned about, is everything okay with the animals? Because I grew up with the animals. I grew up with dogs. So our first thing was, is the dog okay? And so in December, and I believe Phil has all of the different citations and dates of all the disturbances, but January would have been the first time that we were disturbed. The police was called. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. Excuse me. It was 3 a.m. in the morning on, let me go back to my dates here. January 28th, Friday, 3:37. We were awakened abruptly by the dog barking. We notified the police at that point. As I said, because we had just moved here, we didn't know the protocol, and the police indicated that they would dispatch someone to come out to see, what's going on with the dog. And so we were told by the police that they will send someone out. And so we called back, and they said no one had gone out, but they're gonna get someone out. So the dog was continuously barking, and we could actually see the police pull up to the home. And at that point, I guess the owner, whoever was there at the time, must have brought the dog in. And that was probably around 4 something in the morning, or maybe an hour or so later, the dog finally had, stopped barking and was pulled inside the house at 3:37, maybe like 4:30 in the morning. That was the first. So in our minds, we were thinking, maybe it was just an oversight. Like I said, we're new to the community. So we are not knowing that this could be an ongoing thing. We thought maybe it was just an oversight of the dog, maybe being left out, exit. And then as time passed, we started hearing the dog more often, and it's in the mornings. It's generally around the time when we're getting, when we don't need to be up. We're all on different schedules. I telework a lot with my job. So a lot of times I'm here and I don't need to be, awakened by the dog in the mornings. And when I am awakened by the dog in the morning, it throws my whole day off because I'm tired the whole day. I'm not getting any work done. I do, my job requires that I do presentations and, webinar. And if I'm teleworking, it's interrupting, the barking is interrupting my job. I'm not able to work. And so what's happening is, we've had to do all kinds of things to try to come up with, maybe put curtains up. I mean, we've tried everything, and we keep our windows closed at all times. And it doesn't work. It still is disrupting our sleep patterns, and we're all on different schedules, in the afternoons, I need to get rest. I might want to, do something. Our events have been thrown off because we're tired. We're in the mornings, we're not getting our rest. Weekends will come, and that's when we catch up on our rest. We can't even do that. Morning times, we're woken up in the morning, 7:30, early in the morning, by their dog. So fast forwarding to April, because this is happening a lot now. And Robert, who was on the queue, he can attest to that. He is a neighbor, longtime friend, and he actually came with me to have a conversation with the property, the dog owner, because we felt like, maybe there's some things that, we can all do to resolve this, and I can introduce myself to the owner, and let them know that it's sort of impacting our lives, my family, we've been dealing with this for a little while now, from, like I said, January. So we went over and we knocked on the door, and we came bearing gifts. We had gifts for the dogs, because we felt like, well, maybe if the dog is preoccupied, it wouldn't be barking. It would have something to do in the mornings when they let them out, or even during the day, maybe it needs more things to do. And so we brought gifts, and we knocked on the door, and the owner the owner came out, and we began to share what I'm sharing with you guys, that the dog is disturbing, my family, and it's taken a toll. It's taken a toll on me. It's taken a toll on my sisters, and even when my family members come over, they're even disturbed by the dog. So we thought that by having this conversation, because sometimes owners aren't aware, they don't know that the dog is disturbing other people. So we felt like maybe going over and introducing ourselves and having a cordial, neighborly conversation, that would probably address the issue. And so we were told that the issues would be addressed with the disturbances and the barking. And that was the last communication that I had with the owner, Mr. Anton Marks. And so from there, the problem, it just still continued. It still continued. Mornings, throughout the day, weekends. I mean, it almost felt like over time, it just got worse. And that's why we're here. Because I'm not sure what else more we can do. As a neighbor, what can we do to help the dog? You know what I mean? What can we do to help this dog so that it is not disturbing our family? It's becoming a big problem. It's impacting our work, and we need to work. We've even considered, relocating, like moving again. I mean, granted, that would be a big cost to us because we just moved here, and then to turn around and try to find something else and relocate. It's going to cost a lot of money, but this is how serious this has gotten. It has really taken a toll on all of us. And we're trying to, work with Mr. Anton, to try to see, what can be done. I was told that they have tried putting like a muzzle, they've tried all these different things, but it just keeps barking and it won't stop barking. The dog just, every time it's out, it just won't stop barking. So I'm out of ideas at this point as to what they need to do. But I think that it's very prudent for maybe something to be done. I don't know if the dog needs some additional care. I don't know what's going on mentally with the dog, but it has disturbed our family. And that's why we're here today, is to, make it stop. I don't know what else more to do or say at this point, but we're here to get our peace back. We want to be able to enjoy our house just like everybody else, can wake up in the morning and enjoy it. I can't even sit out on my deck because I know that we're going to be disturbed. And it's
Ms. Meekins?
Yeah.
Ms. Meekins, did you have you referred to another witness?
Yes.
Okay, and do you also have a recording of the barking?
Yes, I've turned all of that over to Officer Hall.
Okay, we need to probably hear from them at this time.
Okay.
Is the witness available, Mr. Hall?
I do see Mr. Robert Starks listed in the attendees list. Mr. Starks, I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Give it a second. And
Mr. Meekins, while he's doing that, can I ask you two quick questions?
Sure.
My first question, when was it that you brought the gifts to? Or you went over to talk to Mr. Marks?
Sure. We went over April. It was, I want to say, it was in April.
Sufficient.
Yeah, about April 2022, around the beginning.
That's fine. And these incidents, I saw your list of incidents of all the times the dog's barking. Dogs bark, it's in their nature, it's what they do. You can't stop it. But none of these instances describe the length. Does the dog just bark for 2 minutes when it goes outside to do its business? Or is that dog barking for 20 minutes, 60 minutes? What?
So the affidavits that I submitted, it actually does have the lengths, but I can go over the lengths for you because it's all
ballpark figures. I'm looking at, it says, June 11th, Saturday afternoon, dog barking disturbances, recording on thumb drive. I'm just looking at that list, but I don't need each and every date. I just want to know roughly. Is this?
Oh, I see. Okay. So roughly, I would say there are times that the dog will bark for 15 minutes straight. There are times the dog will bark for 5 minutes straight. The dog will bark for 2. So it's not just a like how you're saying, like you said, dogs bark, they're gonna bark. It's always greater than 2 to 3 minutes. It's always a long, it's never where it's just like, oh, a couple barks. Okay, it's never just for like a second. It's always long enough to disturb a person. So it's greater than 2 minutes. So there's 2 minutes, you got 5 minutes. It's all different times on the recordings.
That was basically my question. That's what I was getting at.
Did I answer?
Ms. Meekins? Yeah, because I was just trying to, you're obviously not saying that you don't ever want to hear the dog bark, because that would be unrealistic, but all right, I get it. Thank you.
And Jennifer, we actually have dogs in our development, in the Jacobs Forest. Like my neighbor, across right here on my street, they have 2 dogs or whatever. So yeah, so we're used to hearing barking. However, it's not excessive. It's not excessive. And then there's another dog here on this block, maybe 2 doors down from me. And again, it's not excessive, and it doesn't disturb the neighbors. So we're used to hearing barking on this block, on the block that I live, but it's not to the point where, people are getting disturbed, and it's going on for, in the mornings. It's not daily, every day in the mornings, waking us up. So, yeah, so, okay. Just wanted to put that point in there, that we do have other dogs on our block.
Okay, I see we have Mr. Starks up.
Mr. Starks, if you would please unmute. Nope.
Oh, there we go.
Let me see if I can send you a prompt here. Might see a pop-up.
You can unmute, sir. Here we are.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Robert Starks, 3701 Arundel.
Thank you kindly. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you kindly.
Okay, Mr. Starks, give us whatever testimony that you have pertaining to this case in this matter.
Yes, sir. There's been several even before, it's been several occasions that I've been at Miss Meekins' residence and heard this dog going off. Again, I was the one that accompanied her to the resident's house and the suggestion was to, take a chew toy. Maybe that would help occupy the dog. With the type of barking, because I am a long-term dog owner. With the type of barking that's going on, our concern was that was something going on with the dog in some type of pain, or whether or not we just need to get the owner to possibly seek out additional help to find out what's going on with the animal. But again, like I said, I've been around quite a bit of times when this dog would just start to just barking. And when we say barking, it's not just come out and just bark 1 or 2 minutes, but it's like consistently for like 18 minutes, 16 minutes, just constantly going on. And we were just, like I said, our first thought was that we were just worried about the animal. I can, again, like I said, it's been several occasions that I testified that the dog did do a lot of barking. I don't have much more than that to add to it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Meekins and Mr. Starks, there's nothing further. We're going to move and allow Mr. Marks to present his side of the case. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Marks?
Yes, I'm here.
We're going to allow you to present your defense.
Thank you. I think I'll start with a little history because I think it's pertinent. My wife, when we met, I learned that she had been a victim of what is it called? Someone broke into her house and assaulted her. And so when looking for a dog, we were looking for a dog that would be protective. That's how we ended up with Ivy. We've had her for 8 years. We moved here to Severn 3 years ago, a little over 3 years. Never had any issues until January, the 28th, when it was mentioned. I suppose I would first want to start by saying I've polled the neighbors, and she is not the closest neighbor. Closest neighbor would be probably 8322. And you'll see in the evidence that I've produced a poll of the closest neighbors. I chose the numbers of the street address because it's all of our streets. I mean, all the people on my street. And some of the numbers are incorrect. They were extra when the map I pulled them from. But the closest neighbors to me all have signed the petition stating that they felt the charges didn't warrant what's going on here. They've never had any issues whatsoever with our dog. This past year and a half, we did have a second dog named Bella. She lives in Towson now. She's a puppy, just over a year old. She does bark a bit. So we modified our behavior as time permitted. But let me start with the January 28th. It was a one-off. Typically the dogs are asleep. They're not out running around at 3:30 in the morning. But we do get, for example, people from the community next to us running through our yard, coming through our fence, going out our carport, and the dog reacts to that. The dog reacts to a number of animals as well. On one side, we have 5 acres of woodland. On the other side of the street, there's a number of more acres. I don't know how many hundreds of acres it is, which goes out to the next road. So we have quite a number of foxes, geese, ducks, birds, deer. There's quite a bit of wildlife that come through that will at times cause our dogs to bark. The deer come in the morning, the dogs can see them through, that's one, but all of that happened before. We modified our behavior with the dogs when we heard there was someone being, that had an issue with it. So we started keeping the dogs locked in at nights. They couldn't go out and do whatever they needed to do. We started putting down papers that didn't matter for the puppy for while we had her, because the puppy was learning to do her business. Our big dog really wanted to go outside because it was used to doing that. It just went outside for it. And so she protested when we kept her inside, and she would hold it as long as she could, and then she would go outside and immediately bark. These barks are not long barks. She's a guard dog. She barks when there's a reason. I can go down through the evidence that was provided. I should mention the first 8 videos and pictures are not my dogs. Not Bella, who's in Baltimore now, not my dog Ivy. Go down further, I have a recording of 5:30. There's a woodpecker for, and then 45 seconds to a minute and 5 seconds. The dog does bark. I don't know what it was barking at. It was barking. Then there's a woodpecker at 2:07, woodpecker at 3:16, birds at 4:28, 5 minutes and 5:20. My dog only barked in her recording for under 30 seconds there. And each one of these other recordings that she provided, 6:2, well, let me clarify. My dog does bark at the thunder. one of the few times she goes out and enjoys running around and barking, one is at the beach, one is when there is a storm going on. And we don't always let her out in the storms, but sometimes if it's mild enough, we permit her to do that. And we don't do it when there's a storm late at night or early in the morning. It's generally something during the day, and it's not we don't think it'll impact anyone. And it's not constant barking. She goes out, she barks, she comes back in, shakes off, licks everyone, and goes out again. And that's how those, so those for the 2 storms on 6/2 and 8/10, that's what she did. On 6/11, there's a recording of dog barking a lot, but there's more than one dog on there. It's not only my dog. 6/24, there's a dog that barks. One starts at the first 4 seconds for a short period. The longest barking I have of her recordings are 1 minute. Everything else is 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. I listened to every one of these videos. And I would also like the investigations to be read into the record if I could. I could do that, or I don't know if someone else does.
Yes, we're going to have those played. Mr. Hall, bring them up for us.
Okay.
And I guess we can have comment after we see him. Philip, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Would you like me to start with the recordings or the incident reports that he just requested?
Let's start with the recordings and then go to the reports.
All right.
If we can.
Absolutely. Let's see. Let's share system audio.
There's no audio, Phil.
Sorry, it won't actually let me speak while I'm sharing those. So that one didn't have any real sound to it besides background noise. So we'll go through a couple more. Some should pick up.
All right, maybe it's just me, but I'm still not hearing anything.
Not to prejudice anything, but that's not my dog or my house or anything to do with me. So.
There was some audio on that one, but it was just birds chirping. Did anybody hear that?
I can.
Yeah, I heard the birds chirping. Yeah.
I can hear it.
Okay, that's strange. All right, let me keep going. Sorry, I have to keep unsharing and sharing because for some reason it mutes me while I'm doing this. Rude.
So whose dog is that? Or what dog is that?
No, they're not concerned.
Yeah, whose dog is that?
Yeah, Phil, that doesn't look like.
It's driving away, so.
Yeah, that's actually, is that coming from my thumb drive?
Yes, this folder is every recording that you've provided on every thumb drive.
Okay, yeah, that's not, I don't know. That looks like someone else's home. And I think Mr. Anton just indicated that that's not his home or his dog.
Is that true, Mr. Marks?
That's true.
And that is not a video that I attested to.
It's when I came on, I mentioned there were the first 8 videos are not of me or my home or my dog.
I think from looking at the files online that the only ones that are Ms. Meekins are the ones that actually match the dates she identified in that list. The rest are copy of Ring cameras that perhaps belong to someone else. But I'm seeing a lot of ones that aren't videos, that are just sound, correct?
There's audio, and there should have been a couple
There are
videos.
pictures of my backyard and my pool and
I see him.
pictures
Yeah.
of the dog. Yeah.
I see him.
And there should have been, let me see if I can go back. Yeah, from the first affidavit, there should have been 3 recordings on thumb drive, 6/13, 6/11, May 30th. And then the video from January 28th, there should be a video from the Friday morning, 3:37 a.m. in the morning. That's what was attached to the June 2nd, 2022 affidavit. Yeah, that's it there. I think that's the 5:30.
Do we have anything happening at this time?
Woodpecker.
Okay, there we go.
Am I missing something? That's all I'm hearing is just a woodpecker and birds chirping.
Yeah,
Well, there's some barking at the start.
There is the occasional thunder clap and then the dog will bark, but
no, not on this.
I don't have anything more here.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Should have another woodpecker at 3:16 and some birds. There's some birds.
Where's the barking?
Well, no, it's the barking was before. That was it.
Yeah, there was some barks at the start of the clip.
Yeah.
Okay, can we go to the next recording? Because I do agree there was woodpeckers and birds on there. The next one probably might be a little bit better. And that one was on 6/11. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, And then again on 6/13. That's 6/2.
This is the 6/2 with thunder.
The video stopped at 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Yeah, it stopped at 2:03. Okay.
I hear music in the background.
No, there was dog barking.
Well, right now I hear music in the background.
Oh, okay.
Miss Meekin, during these recordings, do you have timestamps for particular moments you hear the dog so we can go to that stamp? Or does Mr. Marks have a better review since you did hear all these videos?
Yeah, you can, he can you mean on this particular one?
Well, I think it would be better use of time if whenever audio we are listening to, we go to the stamp.
Right.
Minute and second, so we're not listening to music or birds chirping, but rather than the complaint of barking and the duration of time.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of recordings here.
If I may,
Right.
I do have that.
Yeah, excuse me. Okay, so then, yeah, then if he wants to play, but it's rather difficult. And I know you're saying, you can hear other things in the back, but it's been very difficult to, literally record every single, because there's been so many. And, when something disturbs you in the morning, it has already disturbed you in the morning. So it's difficult to then go back and then record something that has already happened. You know what I mean? So you got to keep that in mind too.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're saying the disturbance already occurred, but these audio recordings may not have the dog barking. Is that correct?
I mean, you can hear the dog barking on this recording.
Okay. At what timestamp do you know?
So this was recorded on June 2nd.
June the 6th, 22.
Are you on? He's on the 6th. This is Saturday, the 6th.
Title
I'm
of it
sorry.
is
It's
June 2nd.
2nd. I'm
The
saying
title
of. Sorry.
June
That's what I
2nd.
meant.
Right.
The 2nd.
Yeah, June 2nd's not a Saturday. June 2nd's a Thursday.
Okay, so let's look at June 2nd.
And I'm guessing what you guys mean by timestamp. I mean, like this audio, just this audio we're listening to is like 16 minutes, and I'm guessing you're like in 2 minutes. It lasted for 16 seconds until 2:60. Is that what you're referring to by timestamp?
Yeah, so it says, yeah.
And Phil, for the sake of expediency, can we go to the next one? It's 6:11.
6:11. Okay, that is a Saturday, yes.
All right, we can move to the next one.
And Mr. Evans, another thing I want to add is with the recordings, it's difficult. Like I said, I hear what everyone's saying that, well, it's only a minute. I know Mr. Anton indicated that the dog is only barking for, 30 seconds or whatever. But, and again, it's hard to, when we're being awakened, the dog is already barking. So then by the time you get your recording, it's gonna seem like it's only 3 minutes as opposed to maybe 5, because you're being disturbed. You literally are waking up and then starting to record. So it may seem like
we understand that.
Okay.
And I'm just for the sake of expediency, I can hear what happens, and then we just figure that it continues to the rest.
Okay.
We want to just move along a little bit more because we have more that we need to bring up.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
And this is the dog in question.
Yes.
One of them,
Okay.
yeah. This is the one that went away.
Okay, so this is not, that was not Ivy?
No, that's Bella.
Bella's
Okay,
gone, correct?
Yeah, she's
Yes.
in Towson.
And Philip, okay, for the purpose of these citations, are they for Ivy or are they for Ivy and Bella, or are there?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just
Different-
contesting because they're dogs. I had 2 dogs.
So in reference
Well,
to
that
the affidavit specifically, the animal.
Ivy is the guard dog. She has a different bark. She barks a short amount to, to ward off whatever, or if she barks for a reason. Bella is a puppy. She's just over a year old, and she's a puppy. She's a hunting dog. So there are squirrels she'll bark at, or birds, or she can smell a mole or a mouse 8 inches under the dirt. She's a great dog, and she goes after them. So but anyway, that's the difference.
I was actually asking Mr. Hall about the citations. All right,
Yeah, so the affidavits in question are referencing a dog described as brown, medium-sized, very heavy bark, or another one, brown, not sure of breed, very loud, heavy bark, or brown, medium, not sure of breed, all following that same vein of description.
okay, so, all right, so it could be
This
either any of
is
these
a
dogs.
lab.
Gotcha, okay.
All right, let me get this back.
And
What,
Mr. Hall,
what's,
are we dealing with just 2 citations today?
Yes, both in reference to the barking under separate sections of the code, animal disturbance prohibited and public nuisance.
I don't know if we could lump them all together because I mean, if we can avoid coming back again and again for these, that would be nice.
I have
do you have a picture what the other dog looks like?
That's it. Oh, the other one, yes, there's a video of it.
I have a question for Mr. Marks. Mr. Marks, do you around what time do you let the dog out in the morning?
Well, I leave around 4:30 or 5 in the morning to go to work. My wife goes to work at 7:30, so she lets the dog out before 7:30, of course, because she has to get to work. And then since there's problems with the barking, we've tried to hold off letting the dog out, but then we let the dog out before we go to bed. So, and the police officer, when they came originally, and I think it was April 7, they told us about the issue of the barking, and they really wished neighbors would confront each other or, speak to each other. At that time, I asked them if they could just ask Miss Meekins or whoever was complaining to come talk to me.
Wasn't that incident at like 3:30 in the morning?
No, that was January 28th. That was January 28th. All I had was a notice. But the time I spoke to officers about an issue was April 7.
I have 2 more follow-up questions.
I should just add, the officer, 2 of them approached us on that date, and they informed me that as long as we can keep the hours of any barking between 7 in the morning and 10 at night, you should be fine. But that's why you'll see a lot of complaints are 7 in the morning and close to 10 at night, because we're letting the dog out for do his business and come back in. And sometimes when they do that, I mean, they protest because their schedules are changing. And frankly, the guard dog is used to warding off the area all day, and now you're confining it. So it speaks when it has the chance. But I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah. So the other two questions I have is when you let the dog out, is it for more than an hour or with less than an hour? And then I guess the other question is, I forgot, but answer that one. Maybe I'll remember the second one.
If the dog's not barking or anything, we'll permit it to be outside because typically it just goes outside. We have a bunny rabbit. The bunny goes out and the dog protects the bunny rabbit. They sit down and eat grass together and stuff, and then they come in. So that can be hours if they choose to, but we're not doing that as much because we're keeping the dog kept inside. But it does need some exercise. So there are times we let it do what it wants. But it's not out there barking. It's a guard dog. It'll bark when there's a reason to bark. I should mention we are hemmed in on 3 or 4 sides with dogs, and the dogs do talk to each other at times. Our one neighbor has 4 dogs. But anyway, so there are times that we will let the dog out for hours, but it's not hours out there barking, and it's always able to come back inside whenever it wants. It's an indoor dog. It prefers the indoors. But I do permit it to go outside if it wants to. Typically, it'll go out, do its business, and it just comes in and sits next to me, unless there are falcons around or buzzards, because at that time it stays outside and watches the bunny. It's a mother thing because it's a female dog.
It's the way you described it made it sound like you have a doggy door, or
no, we leave the door open.
You leave the door open and just come in and out.
Yeah.
And when the dog's inside, does he bark? And Mrs. McKinn's can also, when the dog's inside, is he not barking? Do you not hear the barking? Is it only when he's outside?
It barks when there's a reason to bark. So if someone's coming to the door will go off the hinge. If it's someone running through the backyard, then it'll bark at that. It doesn't bark at just squirrels or birds or something. There has to be a reason for it to bark. If there's a dog outside that barks, it'll answer that bark. But other than that, it just stays inside. Right now it's on the couch in the living room. The door is open for the bunny to come back in. The door is more open for the bunny than the dog, but it prefers inside, and it only barks when there's a reason to. And like I said, in the morning and the evening, it's been inside pretty much all day. And so there are times it will bark at something that's out there, because we have cats in the neighborhood too. We do have foxes. We have rabbits if it sees a rabbit running around. But the wildlife is the wildlife. But it's not typical for it to be barking at things. It knows what it can bark and not bark at.
Philip, I guess this would be a question for you. I just want some clarification. Is there a difference between the noise ordinance and the barking rules?
Animal disturbance prohibited states that the owner of an animal will not allow it to disturb the quiet of a person, neighborhood, or community. Public nuisance is much more broad. It covers the molesting of pedestrians, the damaging of property, or unreasonably annoying or offending human senses. And hearing is a sense.
Okay, so I know there's
that's but that 7 to 11 that was testified to that an officer repeated, there is no actual, to my knowledge, specific noise ordinance like that in Arundel County.
I'm just sharing what he told me. He said as long as you keep it, we don't want it in the night, but if it happens 7 to 10, you're pretty much okay. Not the dog just barking. But if it comes out and barks, it's not really an issue between those times.
Corporal Scally or Kern, can you follow up to Jennifer's question on the code, please?
I'm looking at aacounty.org right now, noise control 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., no more than 90 decibels. Typically, what we have to do if we were to come out, we'd have to have a device that could measure those decibels.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that the barking dogs under the Animal Matters Commission is a bit different than the noise ordinance.
That's correct. It says barking dogs at commercial kennels, MDE does not address household pets.
Right. So just wanted that in for clarification. It's not the same. So
So do we have a picture of the other dog yet? I'm still waiting to see that.
Right, we're on a video that needs to be played. Let me get that going.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Yep.
I think they meant the picture of the dog.
Same thing right now. See, he was barking at us. He's only barking because he's so.
If you go back to that video, yeah, that's actually, I know that the owner, Mr. Anson was saying that I do not live in proximity to his, I'm not in close proximity, or
I
he's
did not
making-
say that. I said you were not the closest.
Oh, okay, okay,
No.
okay. That's fair, okay, because this is actually gives you an indication of how close I am to your property. So that's fair.
okay, let's continue, please.
And that's the dog that's in Towson, the one we just saw.
This is the side wall of my property that is closest to the rear yard of 8315.
Yeah, I think we were trying to see a picture of the dog in question.
Oh.
And we haven't seen the dog yet, I don't think.
If you
It was
go
in the
back,
last one, but it didn't play the full clip of it. It's just in there for a short moment.
yeah, Officer Harp, if you
There it
go
is.
back to, yeah,
Right there?
and then there's another,
Same thing right now. See, he was barking at us. He's only barking because he's so.
wait, there was a picture of the dog in the very beginning, I thought that Officer Hall had showed.
That's the puppy.
That's the puppy. It's watching them take a picture.
That's the one that's in Towson now, right?
Yeah, that's the one that's in Towson.
And anytime, Mr. Anson, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but anytime that there are contractors or anyone on the side of like my home, let's say that, they might be walking back there to look at some things or whatever, the dog it does bark at people too, because I know you indicated.
Oh,
it's just-
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there are people walking back there and
Yeah.
on the other side of the woods, yeah, it'll bark at anyone
Okay.
that's not,
So I just want to make that, because I know you were saying, animals, rabbits and things like that is,
Yeah,
all that.
people too. Yeah.
Right.
We're still waiting to see a picture of the dog in question. So this one is a puppy that is now in Towson. And
I went through all the evidence and then all the recordings myself while I was listening. I didn't see any other picture besides this dog.
Neither did I. I think we only have the picture of the one dog, and it's not Ivy.
okay, that seems to be one at the bottom of this right here.
That's
Is that the same one as the puppy?
No,
yes, that is the dog that's in question. That's the
dog.
barking.
It's going
We're
to the
hearing the
bathroom
barking
right
from
now.
that
One at
dog.
a time, please.
Oh.
Okay. Is this the dog that is accused of the barking on the bottom where
Yes.
it's stopped?
Mhm.
It's frozen. The video is frozen. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I just wanted to make sure because we had a question and I don't think that was ever answered. Mr. Fuentes, did you ask that question?
No, I didn't ask that question, but the
Okay.
video.
Or somebody
was
asked
me.
the question.
That was me. I'm good. Thank you.
There it is. Okay. Okay, we can move on. I believe there was a request for some other. Mr. Marks, did you request something else be brought up?
Right. The
Record
incidents reports and the results. Or
So he's
the
asking
narrative
for
of the
the
officers.
officers' notes from when we sent officers out to the property in response to anonymous calls.
Oh, they're not in our record.
No, we have them. I can. Am I?
Oh, okay.
I can absolutely start with those. The first incident we have on record for Mr. Marks was called in 3/25/2022. Caller was anonymous. Caller details cruelty, dog outside with no water or shelter, has been barking and carrying on since 4:45 this morning, according to complainant. Check overall health and conditions. Dispatch will also send barking letter to the address. Officer Keegan responded, call was unfounded. Dogs were inside at time of visit. Spoke with the owner, Anton Marks, about the call we received. He advised that when they let the dogs outside that they leave the back door open for them to be able to come back inside. He advised that there were some deer in the backyard, and that is possibly why both dogs were barking in the morning. I wrote him a comply notice to get Ivy updated on her license and rabies as they expired in the system. They are babysitting the other dog inside the home, and it does not permanently live there. The next call was on well, that's actually another incident for that day of us sending out the barking letter, but that was already detailed. The next call was on 6/2/22. Check well-being of a dog that has been out during the storm that just passed over. Citizen concern of no shelter provided. Advised the dog was whining and wet. Over check conditions of dog, brown in color. Officer Adams responded. The complaint was unfounded. The dog appears healthy and in good condition. The dog has access to the back door to go in and out. Spoke to the owner in reference to the complaint. The dog is up to date in the system. The next call we received was 8/10/22. Check conditions of a dog out during the storm in the backyard. No shelter provided. Call was unfounded. The complaint was unfounded. The dog was indoors at time of visit. The dog has access to the open back door to go in and out. Light was on inside the house and can hear people inside, but no answer at the door. Posted property, but there is a follow-up to that call. Just another note that the dog appears healthy and is inside the home. And with the last incident, we have 8/18/2022, Mr. Marks came into the facility and discussed the calls with our administrator, who made the note to please contact Mr. Marks if we receive a call. There are numerous unfounded calls in our system that are causing him undue stress, and he answers his phone 24/7. And that's everything we have in relation to Mr. Marks besides the affidavits.
Thank you, Philip. Are both sides content with their presentation of their cases, or is there anything more? Mr. Marks?
I submitted a letter. Did that come through? Is that in evidence?
Yes, I believe that I know I have it.
Yes, I think that's in the paperwork.
is I have made efforts to resolve the issue. I thought it would resolve it in the beginning when we first met. I gave the plaintiff the phone number of my daughter, which I normally would not do because both my wife and my daughter have been under harassment from unknown parties, hacking and such. But understanding that in good faith, she would contact us if there were a future issue with the dog. The only issue I found out that she reported was when my daughter was in Towson and I was in Virginia, so the dogs would have been inside. And that was the only time she got back to us. And I'm not fully convinced that she came out of an interest in resolving the case just out of goodwill, because it was after I spoke to the officer that she then contacted me. I believe it was 16th, but I could be wrong. I spoke to the officer on the 7th. He said typically the neighbors resolve these among themselves, and she didn't contact me until the 16th. And there was no change whatsoever in reports and such that I've had to deal with. And at a time when I'm dealing with health issues myself and being a caretaker for my father, and the job I work with is stressful. And I just wanted to resolve everything. And I don't know what else to do. I just don't know what else to do. And I'm happy to have the commission's advice on what I can do to resolve this. I've never had an issue with neighbors before. So this is all new to me. And I've been here, like I said, 3 years, and it's only the last 6 months that one person has stepped forward with an issue. And when I thought, oh, maybe I'm not seeing something, I visited all my neighbors, and they themselves said the allegations against me are felonious. They're just worthless. I shouldn't pay any attention to them. But out of the interest of resolving something, I'm trying to do something to resolve this. And that's why I actually filed for the case, because I don't want this to go on. I'm not used to having issues with neighbors, and I don't want to have it continue into my future, as my wife's going to be here, and I want to leave things in a good shape for her to carry on when I'm gone. So that's it.
I'd like to say something in response to that.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Anson, it seems like we're both under a lot of stress, and we're both going through a lot, because I'm also going through a lot of health issues myself with my family and so forth. And we did come to your home in good faith. I went shopping. I got, I provided, picked up a nice gift. I wrote out a card. I mean, this is my first time meeting you. So we did come in good faith. I'm not sure what is making you think that we didn't come in good faith. I introduced myself. So did Robert. Robert also introduced himself. And so I'm sorry that you feel as though we didn't come there to help resolve this issue. We are very neighborly. Like I said, we just moved here, and we felt like that was a good thing to do, is to first, have a conversation, because sometimes, to your point, neighbors don't know that their dog might be disturbing, others. So we did come to your home in good faith, and I'm sorry that you feel like, we may not have come in good faith, but we truly did. And I'm hoping that we can resolve this. I don't know how, like maybe the commission does have some ideas. But
Miss Meekins, it would be helpful for me anyway. What exactly is it that you're looking for? I mean, it's unrealistic to think you're never going to hear this dog bark again just because that's what dogs do. But I mean, are you asking that, that Mr. Marks, once that dog has barked for 30 seconds, he come put a stop to it. I mean, what are you hoping to get out of this case?
Well, we're hoping, well, first of all, we were told that Mr. Marks is the one that's contesting, I guess, the whole case. And so now that I am available to speak, I mean, at this point, our family we're being disturbed by his dog. And we want to be able to enjoy, the quietness of our, environment too. We don't want to be disturbed by the dog waking up in the morning.
That's why I need you to define for me what that means.
The barking.
I mean, are you?
Yes.
I know, but are you?
The repeated barking is what we're asking that it come to an end, because it's continuously disturbing us, and it's disturbing us in a way that we're not able to get our rest in the morning. We're not able to even if we want to get our rest in the evening, we can't. So yes, we're asking that if the schedule when the dog is outside, because as far as I know, we can't hear the dog when it's inside, but when it's outside, and we asked this of Mr. Anson, but if there's any way possible that they can find a way, to, I don't know, to make it such that the dog is not repeating and barking and howling and barking and howling and.
Oh no, I must protest here. Howling. My dog has never howled.
Mr. Anson, I did not interrupt you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand. I mean, we're both really stressed about this. I get it.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt both of you here for a second. Just so we know, here's where we are. As it stands, what the commission usually does, we have 2 citations in front of us. We hear your testimony. After the testimony, we close and we deliberate and we decide on the fate of the citations, which would, they're monetary fines for Mr. Marks. And as both of you know, there are more, because of the complaints, there are more behind this. I don't think, and I'm just putting this out there, I don't think that, you guys are talking now. I don't think that assessing monetary fines on Mr. Marks would do the relationship any good at this point, knowing that there's more coming behind him. I'm just throwing this out. I'm just throwing this out to the plaintiff and the defendant to consider. How would you feel if we, as a commission, dismiss the monetary fines and remand the issues back to you guys, to the parties, to work it out? And if you can't work it out, then you're free to, make more complaints in the future. But I think Mr. Marks, hearing the fact that the barking dog is upsetting you guys, maybe there could be some meeting of the minds here, a little bit meeting of the minds. And, it does seem on one hand that Mr. Marks is, I understand, the wife wants to feel protected and they let the dog out freely and the dog will bark. That shouldn't be at 3 o'clock in the morning, though. That would upset anybody, I believe, under normal schedules. And I do understand Ms. Meekins' concern to want to live in a peaceful community where, she's sitting at her computer doing her work, remote work, and not hearing bark. I understand that. So I'm just wondering if this was the citations resulted from a case where 2 parties really haven't had a chance to meet each other and discuss this issue. It happens. And I'm just throwing this out there. I don't think that clobbering Mr. Marks with monetary fines, both of them, I think, I didn't see the amount. Correct me if I'm wrong. What are they? $50 a piece?
Yes, sir.
Something like that. I don't think that would do the relationship any good. I'm just saying that. It tends to aggravate the situation if he's got to come out of his pocket, with $100 and pay, because his dog was barking. If you don't feel that, Ms. Meekins, if you feel that should hit, then we will, close for deliberations and we can deliberate that. But I'm always one to try to end things peacefully and not stick something in there that's going to aggravate the situation more. We're going to have neighbors butting heads, for years to come. Both of you need to live in peace. It's a very nice community.
It is a nice community.
And I think from hearing both of you, I think it's possible. And I'm just throwing it out there. What we're going to do at this point, I think, I'm going to ask permission to allow Mr. Marks and Ms. Meekins to speak to each other for about 10 minutes. The commission will take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and see what your positions are on moving further with these cases, with these citations. Is that okay?
Yes. Can I have my Robert? Can he be a part of that? My witness, can he be a part of the conversation?
I don't think Mr. Marks, you have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marks.
Okay.
Robert, are you still
Phil, wait, but before we do that, Phil, does the commission have the ability to do a breakout room that is not publicized to on Facebook? Because I'm not sure that it benefits these folks to have a private quasi-mediation like this broadcast to the world. But if we can do it in a private breakout room, then I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, but are we going to run into a open meetings issue because this is part of the meeting? Are we going to run into open meeting issues?
But it's not us.
Yeah, we're not.
It would be the two of them in a breakout room separately. So it's not us as a commission. And so I don't think it would violate the Open Meetings Act. I just think we kind of forget that this is being broadcast out there in public. So what Mr. Evans just suggested, and if you guys are okay with it, that's fine with me too, but you should be aware that whatever private discussions you two think you're having aren't really private. Everybody out there watching on Facebook.
Did you say Facebook?
Yeah, this is running live on Facebook.
Broadcast, yes.
And it's also broadcast live on the Anne Arundel County channel. And then it will be available for future viewing on YouTube. So before you go have this not really private discussion, the two of you should be aware of that.
Okay.
I have no problem. So whatever works for the commission, I don't mind.
So with this being a webinar, there is not functionality for a breakout room.
Okay.
Okay. Then just so you know, I mean, there's no
that is correct. Jennifer is correct that this is, and I thought I'm sorry for not saying that. I thought you all knew. It's up in the upper left-hand corner of the screen that it's on Facebook. And I just took for granted that you were aware of that. If you don't mind, that's fine. If you do mind, we can cancel that.
I mean, I don't have a problem. Would it be better if I called Mr. Marks?
If you guys want to talk on the phone while we take a 10-minute break, that would be good too. And then
that way, yeah, I'll still keep my
that
picture.
Will be fine.
I'll still be, yeah.
That will be fine. Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break here. What time is it? For the record, I don't have a clock in front of me.
11:44.
Okay, we will return at 11:54. At this point, you guys talk it on the phone and return at 11:54. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Marks, I don't have your number.
It's 443-510.
So you know, sir.
Oh,
That's
wait a
fine.
minute.
Broadcast.
Don't say-
Do you want to send it in the chat to her, Mr. Marks?
Oh, is it active now?
Yeah, if you go down to the chat, you can select who you want to send to.
Okay,
And the chat isn't showing on Facebook.
right, okay.
Okay. And then I'll call you. Let me see. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on for a second. I'm gonna call. All right, give me 1 second. Let me look at the
No
chat.
problem.
Let's see, where's the chat? How do I, wait. Oh, wait a minute. How do I pull up?
Just click on the chat box. And it'll pull up a chat screen.
There it is. It was all at this. Okay, I got it. So I'm calling you now, and then I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Okay.
But let me get you on the phone first. Okay. Oh. Okay, I'm already on mute. Oh, you're on mute. Wait.
Hey. So you're not going to the clothing closet or not going to Thursday? Okay, well, no. I didn't know that. I didn't know you kept talking, you kept opening the book saying this says this and this says that. And okay, that's fine. So when we going to shop?
Our 10-minute break is up. Are we going to call the parties back into this meeting and finish the commission?
Yes, I believe we should. It looks like they're still talking. I'll give them a minute or two, and then we'll resume. 2 minutes, she says. Give them 2 more minutes, she said. And we're still waiting on 3 more commissioners, Dr. Hemmer, Corporal Scully, and Greg. There we go. There we go.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Marsh.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, we will resume. Witnesses are still under oath. We make any progress?
We committed to talking again because 10 minutes wasn't really, I mean, it's a complicated problem. And so we feel we need to put more time into discussing it.
Okay. Are both parties, well, I know Mr. Marks would be, but both parties okay with the commission dismissing the monetary citations at this point? Or do we have to deliberate the status of those? I guess Ms. Meekins would have to answer that.
Oh, one question, would this involve the ones that went up through the 18th that were discussed? Or is it just?
No, the only ones before us today, unless you guys want to stipulate to that, the only ones before us today are the 2 that are in the case file. But if you guys want to stipulate to the fact that this would, you know, and Ms. Meekins, you would be the one to make that call. There are 2 citations before us today, and I couldn't guess how many more would be following with the record that's before me today. But with the 2 that are in front of us today, we could dismiss those and let you all talk and worry about the other ones later.
Yeah, I just want to confirm, what are the 2 that you have in front of you again? Just to
We
make
have
sure
we have one here for August the 13th.
August the 13th.
No, I'm sorry. June the 2nd, 2022. I was reading the date. We
And
have
June
one there, and
25.
that was animal disturbance, and then we have another one, June the 25th.
June 20.
Which
Okay,
is,
yes, I see it. Yep.
Time with some clarification here. With all of our affidavit cases, when multiple affidavits are submitted for the same animal and the same violation of the county code, everything following that is entered in as supporting documentation. It doesn't result in concurrent citations. So everything in front of us is a package deal, unless Ms. Meekins files more affidavits in the future for any additional incidences, once adjudication is complete for these.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Officer Hall, for that. Okay, so All right, so on the two, I don't have any objection to these two, the citations for these two, for them to be dismissed. I feel as though the conversation that I had with Mr. Marks just now, and Robert was on the phone, so he could attest to it. I feel, that he would like to work with me, and he's willing to work to come to some, some kind of resolution. So I'd like to explore, those conversations with the owner before, any citations are issued today. Okay, I want to have the opportunity to have another conversation with him. So I'm okay with you guys. I don't have any objection with these two, the public nuisance and the animal disturbance citations to be dismissed today.
Okay, and I just want to remind you that what Mr. Hall said, that all of the citations up to this point are in as a package deal if we dismiss these. So that makes everything disappear up to the day.
Right, so all the other affidavits that were submitted as support, it's all gonna be dismissed.
Correct, if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
what additional affidavits are we looking at? I only see two in the package. Everything else are just supporting documents. They're not additional affidavits, correct? For citations?
There are no additional citations. There should be a good number of affidavits of complaint.
Correct, but we don't adjudicate those. We just adjudicate the citations, correct?
Yes, so essentially, if my neighbor's dog is barking and I file an animal disturbance affidavit today, tomorrow, the next day, the day that's following, there may be 4 or 5 affidavits, but only one citation, and everything after the first is supporting documentation. So
correct, okay.
Yeah. Right. Because I think there was a total of 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There were 8 affidavits that were submitted.
And I have 3, if that's important. But I understand this is just concerning the 2, and maybe everything else is subverted into. No?
Well, everything, I think what Philip is trying to say is anything that's been filed up until today is included in the cases we're talking about today. So if you dismiss, it wipes out everything as of today. If tomorrow there's a new barking incident, Ms. Meekins could file again. But we're not coming back on anything that's happened before today.
Right.
And you're good with that?
Yes, there's a total of 7 affidavits that was received, and 2 is what we were talking about today, public nuisance and the animal disturbances. So I'm okay with those 2 citations, including the, the additional
supporting document. Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 2 charges, to be dismissed. And I understand that means all the affidavits that were submitted as supporting documents, to those 2 citations, that they're also going to be dismissed. Okay. I understand that.
And I don't want to bring in any negativeness, but if you can't work it out and it does continue, then you would have to start over, and you know how to do that.
Yes, I do want to leave that open, but I'm hopeful, and
I am
Marks,
too.
I'm hopeful that we can, that it doesn't have to come back to you guys again.
I agree. I agree.
So with the slow postal service, that happens sometimes. If I get more things in the mail in the next couple of weeks, it's not something I need to resolve.
If they're dated prior to this, I don't think you will. Philip, he hadn't been sent any more citations, has he?
So it was discussed with Mr. Marks that there was the affidavits in relation to the second citation that were sent out. Let's see. He's received service from one grouping of them. They were submitted on different dates, and so they were sent out in different groups. There was one that hasn't made it to him yet. We discussed lumping the other citation in for the public nuisance today to expedite things, but he doesn't have a physical copy of that, and that was the one that was sent out 8/2. I haven't received receipt of service. I don't have anything from the USPS as of yet. So if that comes out to him, he just needs to disregard it at this point, as we are hearing that case now to save him.
Okay.
Okay.
Essentially, that will wipe out everything up until September 12th of 2022.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we will then, with your approval, and you guys, I wish you the best. You're some
Thank
good
you.
people. You're very good people, I can tell, and I'm very confident that you'll work this out.
A matter of protocol, do we need to have a motion here?
Well, we will when we
okay.
We will dismiss them and convene as a commission and dismiss the charges.
Very good.
Dismiss the citations. Okay, guys. You guys have a nice day, and
thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Appreciate it.
you guys made my day.
Oh, same
Yeah,
to you,
you did.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay, guys, we will close for deliberation. And I will make a motion to dismiss the citations that are listed for Mr. Marks in this case.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Now, before we go, we have one last, did everybody get a copy sent to them of the minutes from July 11th? And let's see, what's the other one? July 11th. Okay, that's what it is. Everybody have a chance to take a look at them? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's the 8/2 minutes.
8/2 minutes?
8/2, yeah.
Yeah.
8/2, correct. Now I got it. Animal Matter Commission 8/2, minutes from 7/11.
So that was on 8/2. You
Okay, yep, I got it.
And then when it gets to the tail end of that document, it'll be approving those minutes today. It's a weird cyclical record keeping. But that was the day that we met for Robert Poole and his 2 German Shepherds.
Right. So everybody had a chance to, excuse me?
Which I believe are doing well.
Okay. Great. That's going to make my day too. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys. We are doing some good work here. Thank you all. It's really good. So everybody have a chance to look over these minutes? Okay. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? And with that, Philip, I think that concludes our business for today, correct?
That concludes our business for the day. We just need a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I make second.
All in favor?
Thank you, everyone.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
Take
That was
care.
a good one. Very good. They're very rare, but they're good.
It's worked out well today. I'm pleased.
Thank you.
Good
Yes.
job. Good job,
Yes.
everybody. Take care.
Cheers.
Take it easy.